Hello! Hello! We're back! I'm back. Welcome to the Journey. Oh my goodness. I'm doing a podcast. Welcome back. We are going to be talking about the end of November, what you should be working on, the gold mine that is here producing at the end of November, and what you should be targeting so you can pick up some of those extra dollars and know how to book some work, and also tell you what's going on with Vio's journey and my life. And as always, don't forget this show is about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all the crazy things that this guy seems to step in over and over again. All right, let's do it. This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica. It is a pleasure coming back and talking to you guys. I'm so excited. That's right. I'm so excited. We were doing for a while, and I've always had a problem with this. You guys know that if you listen to my podcast. A lot of people tell me, so Gabby and I do a daily show, and we, it's about 20 minutes long. So it does make a perfect podcast length. And a lot of people have asked, why don't you just publish your stuff, that you do on YouTube, right, through your podcast. And I did that a couple times, you know what I mean? And okay. But I think that, you know me, and you know that I love that. I love Gabby. It has nothing to do with that. It's just I've always felt about the podcast was just this singular thing that was different from everything else that I've done or I do, and it was always kind of like just a conversation or a talk between us, me and you. And so it's always been hard for me to try to add stuff to, I think, the podcast lineup when it's not me talking. But as you could tell, it was easy to get away from it because I think early on, with the journey, and there are so many dynamic moving parts, and there was such a drive to go full time, that, when I did go full time and, growing that part of the voiceover business and everything was so, I don't know, so alive and bright and vibrant. And I think when you get to a certain place in your voiceover business, you start to settle in. And I can tell you that's the worst possible thing you can do is settle in. Because when you start to settle in, you're not as hungry as you were before. And you begin to let opportunities pass you by that you would have taken earlier on because you were so hungry. But the thing is I always think opportunities beget more opportunities, right? Just like work, you're doing work, you get more work. If you're busy, you're going to continue to be busy. It's one of those things, again, where it's like, an object in motion stays in motion, right? But it's often, as part of, right, you have to have the energy to start that object in motion. I've often talked about the train analogy, right, where the bulk of all of the energy exhausted in the train is starting, right? When a train is going, right, it just needs enough energy to maintain, but the bulk of the energy used is the beginning of getting the train started from scratch, from nothing, from not moving. And that's the same with our business, right? And I think that that's something that, I definitely get caught in, right? I always get in that place where I'm stepping in stuff. And I think that's a good thing, right? I think, I want to talk to you guys today about some really cool tips for November, as well as trying to help you sidestep that stuff I'm stepping in my business, right? Because I keep stepping in it regardless of how long I have been in this business. I keep stepping in it, you guys. So I'll talk to you about that. So first off, November is one of those months, right? We're at the end of November here. It's November 24th. It's one of those months where we get, we're really focused, especially now. We've got Thanksgiving, our family's there. Christmas is coming up next month. It's such a interesting time of the year because we have spent, hopefully by this point, a lot of time marketing ourselves to businesses who are trying to promote their services for Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? For the holidays as well as for Halloween. But what happens is once we get to this point, we're kind of like, well, what do I do now? Because, I've already done all of that. I've done all that marketing. The marketing's passed. Well, here's a couple things. First off, budgets. So a lot of businesses, right, ending out the year, they still have money in their budget. And they're still going to be promoting and especially getting started for next year. So a good thing for you to do for your business is to set yourself up by promoting, right, that you are available for that end of the year work. You're here to, finish up with, whatever the company's marketing efforts are. You're here to be, ready when needed quickly. Because I remember early on, one thing that happened to me was, I was really in the thick of it. I was doing I was still teaching, right? And, when the holiday comes around, you're really excited, but it's very busy because you get time off. But at the same time, you also have the kids, you've got a lot of stuff going on. And I can remember being contacted by a company who was like, listen, we have a commercial we're trying to get done. We're trying to finish up. It's the end of the year, but we need it ASAP. And it was a big job. It was like $2,000, I think, if I remember correctly. But they needed the turnaround in like a day. And at that time, $2,000, that was like, my gosh, that's going to make the whole entire month, the whole entire quarter, right? At that time, right? It was very exciting. But they needed it very quickly. And it was one of those situations where how was I going to accomplish that sort of feat with my schedule and what I was doing? And, the only answer to that is I had to be ready. I had to do what I had to do, meaning like I had to stay up super late. I had to deal with what I had to deal with in order to make it happen, even though I was exhausted. I don't think that was the time I fell asleep in my booth, but it was enough of a campaign. It wasn't like a 15-second commercial. I mean, it was it was at least 5 or 10 minutes of, whether it was corporate narration or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember that it took me some time and effort, especially at that time, because I wasn't as fast and efficient as I am now. So it took me a lot more time to get it done. And, honestly, it was hard and it was exhausting. And I think another thing too, because I was a theater teacher, we had a play going on then. So there was a lot of time that I couldn't, I was spending at the theater, because if you've ever been a part of a theater production, during the play or during Tech Week and things like that, which is affectionately called Hell Week and things of this nature, you live in the theater. You live there. I mean, you're there all the time. And there's not much time other than sleeping that you get for those time. But when you're running a business like we are, like our voiceover business, and you have a demand like that, you have to take it. So all I'm saying is making yourself available and understanding that it's an opportunity, and opportunities come during this time of the year. Take them, take advantage of them. Don't let them slip away. And again, I'm not telling you to tell your family, sorry, no holiday this year. Anthony told me I can't have Thanksgiving. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the opportunities come and they come quickly. And the opportunity you might see might be on a platform you might see, right? There might be an audition. There might be things going on that you're like, oh, I don't think I'm going to do that because, it's the holiday and I'm busy. And yes, of course, I understand we all want to do that. But at the same time, like I was talking about earlier, how hungry are you? You know what I mean? Like what's the measure of your resolve? Do you want to do this or not do this? Because I can tell you, everybody, I remember in my life, or especially just starting, because no one knew what I was doing. Nobody even knew my family, no one even knew what a voice actor was, right? What does that mean? And, people, I just recall being very shy about telling people what I was doing early on. And also, I was thinking people are going to be like, what are you doing now? Why don't you just do what's your job and stop trying all this other stuff? Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that when you are successful at something, everybody loves to talk about how successful you are, how amazing of a job you did, how hard you worked, you were relentless, you did this, you did that. But before that, or even in the middle of that, it's very easily to get beaten down by people on your back saying, can you just stop for a moment? Can you just get out of that doggone closet? There's people here. You got stuff to do. You're not booking any work. You suck. Well, I don't say you suck, but that's how we hear it in our head, right? We hear it in our head that we're not making it. And this time of the year, there's a lot of opportunities because other people are not taking them because they're busy. So don't, shy away from opportunities this time of year to get ahead is what I'm saying is. And this is the time now because people have those end of the year budgets. They're trying to get it over. They're trying to get it out. This is the time to pour on the effort, not to pull back, right? To pour on the effort of your auditions, pour on the effort of your marketing, pour on the effort so that you get that much more work. And it's a lot easier. I always say it's a lot easier to tell people, hey, I'm booked, I can't do it, than to just sit there and wonder, twiddling your thumbs, why, I just don't have any work. I wish I had work. It's funny because you have to take the good and the bad. It's just not both, and I guess a good with a bad, it's all perspective. I would rather have a ton of work that's sitting there on my shoulders than not having any work and being like, gosh, I don't have any work. This is kind of scary. So again, I think that that's something to note at this time of the year. This is a great time to up your efforts, do more auditions, put more stuff out there. This is by the way, another great time to do more audiobook auditions, because people want to get their audiobooks done. They want to get their books turned into an audiobook. It's the end of 2025, right? People want to get their stuff done. And this is a time where you can be available and show your reliability. And by the way, it's important that you tell people this. I know it feels odd. It does. It feels odd to tell people all of the wonderful things you do because it makes us feel, especially if we grew up in a household where hey, you don't go around telling everybody how wonderful you are. You're not self-centered, right? Be humble about yourself. We're not those kind of people. But in marketing and in what we're doing with our business, it's important. In fact, it's imperative that we let people know, right, how we're reliable. Right, we get work done. We could be the person you need, the voice actor you need at the end of the season to finish your work. We're exactly what you're looking for. I'm exactly what you're looking for, right? Like you have to tell your story in that way, because if you don't, no one is going to even know, one, that you exist, and two, let's be honest, people want to work with people who are confident about services. Like if I come to you and I'm like, hey, I need you to do this, and you come back to me and say, hey, absolutely, let's get this thing done. I'm going to rock it for you. I'm going to be like, oh, this person's really got a lot of, a lot of faith in themselves. They got a lot of gusto. They've got a lot of excitement. See, I don't look at it as, I think the thing is that don't forget, people don't look at you being excited and confident in yourself as you being stuck up. Now, if you were going around just saying like, I'm better than them, I'm better than them, I'm better than him, I'm better than her, I'm better than all of them, they suck, I'm the greatest. Okay, well, that's when you're using that strong language or something like that, then yes, that can definitely seem a little over the top. But I'm not telling you to use that language. I'm telling you to talk about yourself, not you being better than others. And I think that's where that rub comes in, right? Where people are like, well, if I talk about myself, I got to put down others. No, you don't have to put down anybody. In fact, don't talk about anybody else. Just talk about yourself and what you can do for the client, not what other people can do. You know what I mean? And I think you will eliminate a lot of problems you might run into by doing that. Okay? So remember, this time of the year is a great time of the year to get yourself out there, push harder, get more auditions in, Get more, emails sent out. People are trying to get stuff done. Get more marketing done, more social media posts. This is the time of the year to do that because this is where other people take off, right? This is where other people slow down, and you don't have time to slow down. We're trying to build a business, right? So make sure that you're doing that as well. Second thing, it is very important that we don't sit back, like I said in the beginning of the podcast here, and be complacent, right? You might be in a place where you've gotten work, you've been doing this for a while. Some of you have been following me since we started this journey 8 years ago. Maybe, maybe like, because I started the podcast. Has it been 8? It's been 7 years. Started the podcast in 2018. So it's going to be 8 soon, right? I'm trying to think of when. I don't know when actually. Was it might have been during the winter months. It might have been in 2018. I started the podcast. So yes, I mean, we're coming up on 8 years of doing this podcast. And if you've been following me that long, right, you've been through voiceover for 8 years as well. And you've built a business. You've gotten voiceover work. But you might be running through a rough patch too. You might be saying, where's the voiceover work? What I did then, or even a couple years ago, what I did over COVID is just not working right now. Like my account, maybe I had accounts on Fiverr and Upwork or Voices and Voice 123 or Voice Realm and I'm just not getting the work, and again, part of us will argue, well, there's AI and there's all this stuff and it's the end of voiceover. Well, we know that's a crock of baloney. That's a crock of crap. It's not true. And yes, there's competitors out there, but it's no different than, other times. Like I was talking to somebody about the .com, or not .com, but the housing bubble. 2007, 2008, 2009, when people were in voiceover then, and they were like, it's the end of the world. Nobody's marketing. It's never going to recover. It's all like people were dropping out of the business like flies. I mean, you have to remember, we go in these cycles, right? And they are pretty crazy. It's about 15, 20-year cycles. And times do get harder. But here's the thing. When things like that happen, you've got to get harder as well, meaning we have to go deeper in and go further. Because remember, when times are good, that's not when you build a successful business. You build a successful business when times are bad. Because when times are bad, people do fail and they do quit and they do leave. It's the people who stick around. It's the people who stay with it. It's the people who refuse to not quit despite all of the crap that's coming their way. Those are the ones who come out of the storm on the other end intact and ready to go, right? It's always that. I mean, yes, you know me, I'm over dramatic, so I'm being dramatic right now. But it's the people, right? When you find yourself in the middle, walking through the middle of hell, right? Well, keep on walking. It's the only way through hell, right? The only way to get to the other side of hell is go straight through, right? So you got to keep going and you can't stop, right? And sometimes you might feel like you're in that moment. You might feel like I can't get a damn job. I can't get anything. It's just not working. And these are the moments that you have to keep going. Yes. Should you get training? Of course. As always, love to have you part of VOsJourney.com or VO's Journey. Absolutely. VO Journey Academy. We want you there, of course. But in the end, no matter what training you get or no matter what you do, it's going to boil down to you and what is the measure of your resolve. What is the measure of your resolve? How far does it go? And how many times can you get knocked down and get back up? That's it. To quote Rocky for the day. All right? It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up. Okay? And that's the truth of it. And I know all of you can do it. I know you can. All right? So listen, this time of the year, this is a great time to really get going and pick up the pace on your auditions, pick up the pace on your marketing efforts, double, triple down on what you're doing, and be available because opportunities will come quickly and you've got to be ready for them. Okay, here's another little last tip of this podcast. You got to be ready for the opportunities when they arise. I know it's kind of crazy, or to quote again another movie from Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. The thing is the reason why I love that, all right? I know is a movie, but the truth is that you have to have something going. You have to have something in the mix already before stuff will come your way. Don't ever forget that. That's really important. So that means you've got to be ready. You've got to be on your toes, ready to go, actively getting yourself out there and ready for that opportunity. Okay? Because again, right, an object in motion stays in motion. Keep going, stay in motion, and it will stay in motion. All right? Hey, you guys, amazing. Thank you so much for listening to me again. As always, and I know I say this, but I keep rocking, trying to get some more podcasts out to you guys. Kind of exciting about what's coming up in Christmas. We're moving in the new semester. I didn't get a chance to talk to you a little bit about what was going on with Academy Voices, what's going on in my voiceover business. So I'll just tell you, voiceover has definitely, for me, been challenging. I really, to open up a little bit, it's been challenging because I have been putting so much effort into Academy Voices, which is our publishing, our audiobook publishing company. And, we have over 300 plus voice actors on the site now, and we've published almost 450 audiobooks now. And, that's been a lot of work. VO Journey Academy has been amazing, right? We've brought on Angela Olfest. We've done a lot in VO Journey Academy. One thing about VO Journey Academy is we're switching back our next semester, which starts in January. We're switching back to our specific weekly classes like Acting 101 and 201, and I'm adding back Acting 301, which is really excited, which is more of an independent study. So I'm very excited about that, and getting all those lesson plans redrawn. So I'm very thrilled to be getting that back to a weekly class as opposed to once a month. So going to be doing that as well. But, voiceover takes effort, you guys, as you know, and it takes effort to market it. And it takes effort, just like the whole point to the podcast today was being available and ready to go. Sometimes that can determine whether or not you're able to build your voiceover business or not. It is the reality of our work, you guys. The reality of our work is we have to be available. You know what I'm saying? We have to be available. That's the reality of it. So, when you're not able to be available, when you're doing other stuff, you can lose out on opportunities. And as the opportunities pass you by, less will come your way. I don't know if it's a law of the universe, like I said, with, object in motion, stage in motion, all of that stuff. It is, I've just found it to be true. You know what I mean? And so the key is to, when you're ready, when you go back into it, get back in and you dive full head in first, right? Because remember, this is your story, your journey. You make it what you want to make it. All right, enough of that preaching. You guys are awesome. I love you as always. Have a wonderful day, a great Thanksgiving. I might do another podcast this week. I know, it'd be crazy, right? Be like, too much, Anthony, too much. Although people are always like, not enough. So either way, you guys are amazing. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.